Okay, so yeah, thanks for the chance to present my work in this wonderful conference. So this work, as you can imagine, is about intergenerational mobility. It's an incredibly important question, both for equity and efficiency reasons. And it's been studied for very long, so presentation is short. I won't do justice for all the amazing work on that. But I'd like to start just saying that there's a long literature estimating intergenerational income mobility, which has shown to us that there is a clear, strong correlation between how much money parents make over life and the future, the outcomes of children when they are adults, and the strength of this correlation vary widely across countries. More recently, a new wave of studies start digging into this question with large administrative data sets, and that has led to new findings, starting with the work of Chetty in the US. For instance, they have produced these amazing maps showing how children who grown up in equally poor households across the US, how they fare differently when they are adults, depending on the areas where they are growing up. And this research allowed us to zoom up to neighborhoods and see that people who live just a few blocks away, children with parents with the same income, they had very different outcomes. So this recent wave of research, at least when you started this a few years ago, has been concentrated in Europe and the US and mainly advanced countries for which data was available. So the challenge that we have taken in this research agenda has been estimating that for the context of Brazil, and this is what I'm going to tell you very briefly about. So our setting is Brazil, one of the most unequal countries in the world, which is famous for these pictures where you see luxurious housing next to favelas, where there is this very, very silent inequalities. So what you do in this research paper is putting together, at least when you started, for the first time, countrywide tax data for a developing country, actually along with many administrative data sets, to estimate income mobility using large data, and we were able to provide detailed evidence on mobility patterns across groups, space, study how parental income relates to several long-term outcomes to estimate causal place effects. I'm going to tell you about our key results now. And one very important thing that makes it challenging to do this job in the context of Brazil is that if you are in the US, you have tax data for everybody, which is already very challenging and difficult to get and to work with, but you are sort of done, right? You can measure parental income throughout the life looking at the tax data and also for children. But in a country like Brazil, where about 1/3 of the economy is informal, you need to take into account informal income, and actually informality is rather more common than formality around the world. If you take a look around countries, so the developed countries that are largely formal, they are sort of an exception if you really look at the 200 countries that you have around the world. So a challenge that you tackle here is measuring informal income, and essentially what you're going to do is we're going to use survey data sources that track informal income, and we're going to do our best job to predict the informal income of individuals for several years using survey data sources. So you're going to put together what you observe from formal income in the administrative data, both from taxes and employment data and so on, and you're going to sort of put together this method also to measure informal income together to take this into account. The analysis, and in the paper, half of the paper is developing these methods and trying to tackle measurement issues. I won't give much details today, but this is a major thing that we do, and this hopefully can be applied in other contexts for other countries where if you might be interested if you think that these are important, and it can be extended also to other countries. So very briefly, we combine a bunch of administrative data sets with also large-scale survey data to take this challenge. Also, when you need to link families in admin data in the context of Brazil, and I think in the context of many developing countries, you don't have one data set that's ready with all the links that you need. So we have made a big effort to use different sources of data to link parents and children in this data. And we have made this effort to measure both formal and informal income together. I'm going to be I won't spend much time on the methodology so much, but I'll try to focus on the takeaways that you get from this analysis. So what's the main object of the analysis that you do is relating parental income when children were growing up. So we measure parental income for almost 18 years when children was growing up, and you rank parents from a few different cohorts in Brazil according to their rank in the parental income distribution relative to their cohort, and then you do the same job for their children, and you rank them among people from the same cohort. The relationship that we find is what you see on this graph, where you see a coefficient of relative mobility of 0.55, which indicates that if your parents are 10 degrees higher, 10 percentiles higher in the parental income distribution, on average, children, they are gonna achieve 5.5 percentiles higher. So just to give you a comparison, so the strong this correlation is, the more parental income is related to child income, so less mobility we have. So just to give you a bit of a comparison, in European countries, this has been found to go around 0.2 to 0.3, and in the US, it's 0.24 as estimated by Chetty. So Brazil, by far, following this methodology with large administrative data sets, is the one where you see the lowest degree of mobility relative to other countries. We also can look, for example, at transition matrix, where we show, for instance, that among children born in the bottom 20 of the parental income distribution, in Brazil, we only observe that 2.5% raised to the top quintile of the child income distribution. Again, for a comparison, this number is about 7.5% in the US, so 3 times larger, and about 15% in Sweden, which is the largest there you know. So also here, if you look at from this dimension, Brazil lags a lot behind. So we have listened a lot about the Great Gatsby curve relating income inequality in the countries and intergenerational mobility. And if you were to draw a line for the previous estimates based on the large-scale admin data, this would be the picture that we have. So what you do, like putting this in perspective relative to other countries, is that we're estimating that for a country where income inequality is much larger, and indeed we find that intergenerational mobility is much lower, right? So the larger the coefficient. So this is how Brazil looks like relative to other countries. Another thing that I like to emphasize is that I won't go into methodology, is that if you did not take into account informal income sources, Brazil would look much more mobile. That would lead to very important measurement issues. So it's important to try hard really to take into account informal income in a context of high informality. So we show in the paper that parental income relates to a bunch of child outcomes in the future, like the probability that you go for, that you get a college degree in the future, which is very high if you're born in the top of the parental income distribution, and extremely low if you're born at the bottom. So we present a lot of this in the paper. So since time is a bit short, so the final message that I want to get is to show how mobility varies across Brazil, which is one of the advantages of doing that with large data, that you are able to estimate income mobility at very small geographical units. So what I'm showing on this map is the expected income or rank for children born in below median income countries. So we're looking at equally poor children born in different areas of the country, and this is how we show that this varies a lot in Brazil. So our first finding, a first lesson, is that there is a big north and south divide in upward mobility. So mobility tends to be much larger in the center-south of Brazil, which is the more developed area, relative to the north-northeast. Another interesting lesson that I think that we learned from here is that the places offering the best chances for vulnerable children, they are not really exactly the most vibrant economic centers, such as São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro. Instead, what we find are some mobility hotspots, for example, around the area of Sorriso, which has experienced a soy-driven economic boom, or in the southern regions of Brazil in much smaller areas that they offer better chances, so children tend to fare better in these areas. Then, of course, we provide a first step, a correlation analysis, trying to understand what are the characteristics of the areas in Brazil that offer these mobility islands, that provide better chances for poor children. And, for example, one message that stands out is the role of the quality of public education, which seems to be the strongest predictor of upward mobility. So, just to conclude, we hope that this work has gained some attention in the media, and I think we are happy that this has promoted the debate about income mobility in Brazil. We have also created, recently we launched an interactive atlas online where you can see the results of our studies and track many long-term outcomes in an interactive way, also trying to increase the discussion around mobility in Brazil, and this might serve also to other researchers studying, for example, the determinants of upward mobility. And we have also some ongoing work that's actually related to what Guido is going to talk more about, a related work by him, on the role of Bolsa Familia in improving mobility. And our initial results, they show that children who were exposed to Bolsa Familia for longer, they achieve higher years of education, they are less likely to depend on welfare when they are adults, and ultimately they achieve higher income ranks. So these results, they also suggest in a follow-up work that conditional cash transfers, they can be a way to improve intergenerational mobility. So thank you.